Good morning, everyone. Scott Maybor here with your Medicare Missive from the pond for a lovely Wednesday, April 23rd. Hope you are all doing well and that the weather is glorious wherever you are. Was going to actually do a video on something else, but I came across this last night. I keep kind of a running list of ideas for videos based on my client interactions. But this is not a client interaction. This was something on Facebook. You may not be aware that Facebook has groups of Medicare professionals, so brokers and advisors and whatnot who work in the Medicare field. And this was an interaction that I saw yesterday. I did a screen print. I know you can't read it, and I blocked out the names anyway, but there's a couple things I think that are very relevant, and I am going to read the post by this woman named Lisa. Oh my gosh, I'm utterly devastated. Been working with a client in another state that was a referral. Spent hours of my time to find a plan that is not commissionable with the carrier. This is crazy. Makes me want to jump off the ship. Trying to do what's right by the customer and not myself, but how do you make a living? So she recommended a plan that she feels is the best, she feels is the best plan for the client, and then discovered that it's not commissionable and it's so unfair to her. That's an ongoing issue. I have been saying that to anyone who will listen, that as the carriers are eliminating commissions on plans, the number of plans that many brokers are choosing from, and remember, a broker is a commissioned salesperson, if the carrier is not going to pay a commission, if there's 3 plans available or recommended, and 2 of them don't pay a commission, which one do you think you're going to get as a recommendation? Not besmirching all brokers. There are certainly some that will still recommend the non-commissionable plan. The other issue, and I'm also not besmirching them because they do have to make a living. I mean, if you want somebody to be able to call, like I got a call not last night, the night before at 6:30 p.m. because there was an issue with her drug plan. If you want to be able to reach somebody on their cell phone at 6:30 at night, that person does have to make a living. So this is not a criticism necessarily of commission-based plans. However, I think it's very relevant for you to hear what some, and this is just the first page of comments, there were about 45 of them. So one of the early responders says, you can get a non-commissionable list from your carrier. You'll never make that mistake again, that's for sure. So that person's saying, figure out which plans are non-commissionable and don't offer them. Another person said, if you have a commissioned plan and there's another plan that's almost as good that does pay a commission, that's the one you should recommend, because that's the one that will enable you to stay in business and be around to help them. One person did recommend giving them basically a choice and say, if you want to continue to work with me and you want me to be here for years into the future, to be here to help you, then you have to pick the plan that has the commission. A bunch of people basically said, if there's no commission, you shouldn't be even offering those plans. Shame on you. You'll know better next time. Offer a plan number 2 or 3. As you probably already know, I am fee-based. So the criteria or the level of duty to a client for an insurance agent, and this is countrywide, your level is to pick an appropriate plan or recommend an appropriate plan. Not the best plan, an appropriate plan. And, and depending on your point of view, appropriate can vary. Probably the same with best. But it is an interesting criteria, because a fiduciary, so your financial planner, somebody you're paying a fee to, has an obligation to recommend the best plan for you. So if you want the best plan, and again, I'm not saying some brokers won't recommend the best plan even if it's not commissionable, but realistically, you can only stay in business so long spending time with clients that you're not getting paid to help, unless you're a volunteer organization. But if you want the best plan, I believe you have to work with a fiduciary. If you want to work with a fiduciary who's obligated to help you and recommend the best plan for you, then that person cannot be compensated or earning their primary living from a carrier. It doesn't make sense, especially if carrier X, and she does name the carrier, but I didn't, Carrier X has 5 plans in your county. which is the best plan? Well, two of them don't pay a commission, and this one doesn't have drugs. You need to know what the best plan is, and I've gone back and forth with other Medicare professionals, and best is subjective in some ways. I would say best plan if you're looking at cost. I had a friend of mine who's a broker tell me best is the biggest formulary, and I said, well, but if somebody doesn't take any drugs or they take 2 statins, why do we need a big formulary? It's a waste of money when you're spending $150 a month for a plan when a $10 plan will do. And his argument was it's a bigger formulary. It's an argument he can make without doubt, and he can verify that. I mean, that's public knowledge right on the internet what the plan's formulary is. That one has more drugs in it. If the client doesn't need it, I would argue it's a waste of money. He would argue it's greater flexibility. So it's really a matter of, but the $10 plan doesn't pay a commission, coincidentally, and the $100 plan does. So is his recommendation biased? And I'm not accusing him of bias, but I am saying that the plan that's recommended is the plan that pays a commission. And that may be coincidence. In many cases, it may truly be the best plan. Not saying every commission plan is bad by any means, but it is something that you, as the consumer looking for a Medicare plan, and a Medicare advisor needs to consider. Who's paying the advisor? Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Love to hear from you. Have a great day, everyone. Be well.